So what is it that we all can do in our individual lives every single day that will help us live better, be better, and actually show up better in our lives? So we had our first session yesterday. Today is the second session, and I'm so honored and so glad to have Pallavi Srivastava here with us. So, hi Pallavi, welcome to this session.
Thank you, Meenu. Thanks for having me here. I hope I can add some inputs and people can take away something from my personal experiences.
Absolutely. So, Pallavi is the founder of a unique concept, rather, which is called as Our Better Planet. We'll talk a little about it in this session today. She's an alumnus of Goa Institute of Management, and post which she worked for different corporates. And in 2015, she became an entrepreneur, and since then, she's been managing different areas of business. She's been managing her businesses, and she's a mom herself, and she has a very sweet daughter. uh, Pallavi actually started this business with a thought, with a mission, with an idea, and with a purpose. And this purpose, was way bigger than what we could conceive of, or what we could perceive of. And that mission was to see how could we reduce the negative impact on this planet. And we feel that is so important with all the resources that are dwindling around us, with the way we are so negatively impacting the planet through the smaller habits that we all form, and we indulge in. It's important to look at our planet differently, look at sustainability differently. And we strongly believe that each one of us has a role to play out here. So today's session is really about understanding Pallavi's journey, because it's so inspiring. There's so much that we all can learn from her journey, and incorporate those little lessons in our lives as well, and also understand the concept of sustainability and how can we incorporate sustainability in the way we live on this planet. Uh, so without further delay, I would like to actually put up first question to you, Pallavi, which is about your entrepreneurial journey so far, and what actually inspired you to think of this concept and pursue this concept as your venture.
So, Meenu, I'll be very frank. Actually, none of this was planned the way it all phased out. So, like you correctly said, I took a break from my corporate life, and the break wasn't meant to be forever. I meant to go back, and it was more of a sabbatical that I took for a little bit because I had never taken a break before that. Since getting done with college, I joined straight away, and then even when my daughter was born, I was working throughout, and post that I was very committed to go back to work because you always feel that will life change totally. I mean, you don't want to let go of everything that you are so much in control of, right? So I continued working. I did part-time for a little bit because the company that I was working for had those kind of provisions for new moms. And I took a break only when my daughter was 2.5, because the reason being that she started really looking out for me. Because, but till that age, she was really okay to be with her nanny or her grandmoms or aunts, because she could not really much differentiate between the personal experience that you get from each of these relations that you have so close by. So, and then I realized that, now she's looking out for me, and it's my responsibility to really be around for her. And that's when I took a break. So, the break was meant to be for a year. And since I was at home, I really started, and it was all meant to be spending that time with her. So just about everything was about her activities, about her, the products that she was using, the food that she was eating, the way she was going out to play, the associations that she was building at that point in time. So I was a little extra involved, and I started observing these small things, starting from food to personal care to her clothing, and just about everything about the way she used to play with a toy, and where all was that toy really going? Was that going in her mouth? Or was it just on the floor? So all those things, you start observing when you have the time to. I had never had the time to do it. So, and I wasn't aware. I mean, I really was probably now when I think about it, I feel that I was living in a bubble. It was all just very systematic. I mean, there were people who were doing things for me. And I mean, I'm very thankful for that. But then, of course, that always takes away from the real experience. So, and that's when I became a little bit more observant. I really started thinking about what I should invest on, whether it should be about a bedding for her, which is made out of the regular fabric that we get, printed with the chemically induced colors, or should I go with something which is which has a more longevity in terms of, it is better for her skin, and it's also better for the environment because I can recycle it tomorrow. I can make maybe convert it into like a art piece or something to save, because these fabrics, they have a long life, and you can do many things with it. So these kind of thoughts, when you're at home and when you've always been working, your mind is never it never stops, it's never still. So you keep thinking about, okay, what can I do next, how can I make this experience better? And that's how it led to me starting to work on a event management concept. The event management concept was again driven by the fact that there were hardly any event management companies who were working with eco-friendly materials. So everything, I mean, this happened, of course, around my daughter's birthday. And we had just moved back from the US, so we were a little bit more conscious about uh, the kind of plates that we eat in, and the kind of the wastage of the tissue paper that we do, which is a little bit less prevalent, especially among kids, because they don't apply so much mind to it. So I started looking out for vendors who could give me some options of, eco-friendly options for food and catering and all that. And there wasn't any. And then I started thinking that there's a big gap, because there are such amazing small businesses, especially in Bangalore, which I got exposed to through, again, families. When I started living here, I started figuring out that I think there is an entrepreneur living just in every third house in Bangalore. And there are just amazing businesses, amazing concepts that people are working with. And these people were there, but then there was no one aggregator who could really get them to you and give you a service that, this is what is like a bundled up service. So I started doing, I mean, I did it for my daughter, and then my friend suggested that why don't you really do it like professionally? And I'm like, I'm just taking a break, I don't want to do it again. But then it was really very interesting because it really kindled my creative side, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, I could really relate to all the experiences that these moms were having, because I had the same with my daughter, and then my daughter was happy because I could spend more time with her, and then I never went back. So that's why I said it's accidental. I never planned. I mean, if you ask me frankly, I don't know how I ended up here, but yeah, it's been a lovely journey. So I have no regrets, and I'm very happy that I took this decision. Yeah, of never going back.
Wow, wow, that's lovely. So, Pallavi, the more I read about your mission and the company that you're trying to, uh, form, actually the company's form, but the kind of purpose that you are chasing,
Hmm.
uh, you are a crusader for sustainability. You are actually kind of promoting sustainability. So, just for our understanding, what is the concept around what's the concept about sustainability? What is sustainability, and do we see it integrated in our regular lives?
Yeah, so sustainability is I mean, it has different meanings for different people. And for me personally, sustainability is very close to consistency. So something that I can really take up and stick to, uh, and you will stick to something which is in the long run not creating any kind of an impact which is a negative impact, right? So eventually, if you adapt a practice which is leading to a negative effect somewhere, it will you will come to know about it and you will want to change it. So my idea of sustainability is a practice that you can take up consistently without having the fear of it leading to any negative impact, so to say. And it's very simple. I mean, if you really think about it, it's there's a lot of material on the internet, and of course there are books written about it. There are so many social activists who are talking about it. But then I feel that if, as an individual, as a homemaker, or as a professional, if you just think about consistency in your life in terms of, maybe you start running and you do it every day, and that starts affecting your body in a certain way, right? So it makes you happier, it makes you lose weight if that was your intention, or it makes you eat better, because when you're working out, you always also concentrate on what's going in. So when it leads to those kind of things, that is something which is sustainability for me. I mean, I'm not really talking about the technical terms, but this is what sustainability is in my life. It's something that I can consistently do, and which leads to, if not good, there's no negative impact of it in the environment or to anybody or to a community. So in short, that is what I mean. Let's keep it simple and let's not confuse ourselves with like bigger things. How can we really make an impact on the environment? As long as we don't, we have to start from our homes, we have to start from our families. Unless and until that happens, it's very difficult to really look at the big picture. So that's my one piece of advice, that read, but try to imbibe and try to make these smaller changes in life rather than looking at the bigger picture, because that will eventually happen, but it has to start somewhere.
And I see that on your profile as well. Start small, aim bigger, aim
Yeah,
big. Yes.
that's the only way to go. I mean, I don't know of any other way.
Yeah. So, any tips on how can one start? Because till now, my definition of sustainability was, I had some understanding of sustainability, but I never thought about integrating it in my life, or integrating, or even thinking about how am I contributing
Yeah.
to this planet. So, any tips on how can one build a perspective around this area?
Yeah, so like you rightly say yourself, because you have been doing these things. I think all of us have, because the kind of lifestyles that we have, somewhere or the other, all of us are contributing. All of us are, I mean, of course, maybe on a different note, we are creating a negative impact also. But then, like you said, the thought has to be there. We have to start thinking about it. And then the thought will come only when we are aware, you know our lives have become so what should I say, like so robotic, that we don't really pause and think about what we are doing, what is really motivating us to do that. Is there any motivation? Okay, if there is no motivation, is it serving a purpose in life? I mean, I'm going out to work because probably I'm getting money out of it, but if it's serving that purpose, it's good enough. But you have to really stop, pause, think, be aware of your actions. I think once that happens, uh, I think that's sustainability for me. If you're aware of your actions, because if you're aware, I believe that intrinsically every human being is good. I mean, there's goodness inside every human being. So if you're aware of your actions, then how will you really go out and do something which is creating a negative effect? You won't, right? You will reconsider it, that okay, now since I have the time to think about it, I thought about it and I realized that this is not something that I should be doing. Maybe I can do it differently. So that is what we are missing, because we don't have that time. And probably if we have that time, we have other things to do. But that is what I think is missing. Once we start doing that, either through and becoming aware of your actions is not something which is easy to do. I mean, you really have to. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be a Sadguru to do that, but you have to be really, really. The thought process has to be kindled. I mean, you have to think that am I enjoying my experiences, or because every day is like an experience. There are multiple. It's made up of moments, right? We just keep ignoring them and moving ahead, which cannot really happen. So if that is happening, then I don't think we are putting in any thought to whatever we are doing, and it's a waste of a very good life, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so for this awareness thing is what we're actually trying to build, that okay, how do we pause, how do we reflect, and how do we actually be aware of whether this choice is right, or do we need to kind of do something else. Can we get a little deeper into these choices? Where is it that we could be sustainable? Is it in the way we, say, for example, dress up, or the way the example which you gave, the kind of bed sheets that, for example, you were using for your child, or
Hmm.
in the way we eat, or in the way we kind of travel. Uh, there could be so many ways, and every moment there's a choice to be made.
Yeah.
So, what are those, like, what are some of those examples that you've seen in everyday lives where you think we can be more sustainable, or we can be more conscious for that matter?
Yeah, so if I talk, I mean, I can talk about myself, and I know that there are, I mean, I'm not even 10% there. So there are things that I really want to change about my everyday life. So if I would, I mean, if we talk in the context of an e-commerce platform, just for an example. So I mean, nowadays, if you see, there's a plethora of options where you can buy from. The reason why we are not aware of our buying choices also is because of the ease of returns, you know. So you're not very decisive, you are just doing it. You're just doing it because you have that option of tomorrow returning it and getting your money back. So that is something that is really creating a very negative impact, because see for one, there's a much bigger carbon footprint. There's just too much of wastage of single use plastic again. Then we are again, I don't know if the packaging material that we are using, how biodegradable that is. So I'm not getting into the technicalities, but what I'm saying is that if you are aware of your choices, then we don't have to go through this cycle, and we all have to start thinking about what is it coming to at the end of the day, right? You can return it at 10 times. I mean, Amazon gives you that opportunity to just keep returning. You buy, you return, you buy, you return. Sometimes we use it and return it. So those kind of practices, Amazon cannot come to your home and check for you that, are you using it, or are you returning it with the labels? People wear it with the labels and they return it. That happens. I mean, I've seen that happen in the US also. So it is your own self conscience. It's your own thought process. It's your own awareness which leads to that. So I would say that, uh, I mean, I'm not saying anybody is intrinsically bad, but these kind of platforms are built to lure you also. So it's a vicious cycle. I mean, somebody is giving you an option wherein you don't really have to apply your mind on day one. They're giving you options. So why would you want to do that? As soon as that option is pulled out from you, you don't want to shop there, because it's hard. I'm not able to touch the product, see the product. So those kind of limitations are there. I would just suggest that my personal request would be to think and make it a decision which you are responsible for, and not a frivolous thing that, okay, somebody is giving me an opportunity, let me go all out and go crazy. So that is something that I would say people can start thinking about. And then if you ask me for some tips, I would say that again, look at your look at your purchases. I mean, we don't really essentially have to make a purchase just because we received our salary this month, right? So if you have a purchase in mind, which is a thought through purchase, make sure that it's something which will last you for a little bit longer, is made out from quality material, is probably has a story behind it so that you can relate more to it. And if it's made by an artisan, I mean, that is my preference, but I'm saying that is something which is unique. It's a piece that you can carry with you and say that, this is something unique that I have. So those are my suggestions, but then awareness is what it comes to all of it.
Yeah, lovely. And I'm sure there could be so many ways in which we could actually be conscious of the choices that we're making. And I love that example. We actually mindlessly keep returning things back to Amazon. We order 10 things, we like 5, we send back 5, or we sometimes don't even care before swiping return. Absolute. And it must be having such a big impact, not just on the packing material, but say somebody moving
Entire
around.
logistics.
Yeah, absolutely. And such a small thing, but never thought of it before. Cool. So I want to take a pause here and actually invite our audience to ask Pallavi any thoughts, any questions, or any thoughts that have come up for them so far. You'd love to listen to your thoughts around sustainability, around the choices that we make, and how can we challenge some of those choices really. Just feel free
Ma'am,
to unmute. Yes. Yeah.
yes, good evening, ma'am.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, Pallavi, ma'am. Thank you for the
Hi,
beautiful
Deepti.
insight.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I wanted to ask you that how challenging this was. Because, starting is a different thing, but, going through your aim, doing everything. And we somehow know that still, women, they are always, seen as, it's like their choice. When you are an entrepreneur, it's like your choice. You are not doing because it's your dream. So people have that perspective about it, how challenging it was for you to observe that and then just go with what you thought. You have that specific goal in mind and to continue with it, not taking that a step back that people impose on you. So how it was that you experienced that you can share with us?
So my experience so far, Alka, has been really very enjoyable, so to say. So of course, I had different kinds of challenges, but these were more of operational and challenges around the business. The entire motivation to go out by myself was something that I really enjoyed. I mean, this was not forced on me. This was not. I didn't have to do it out of compulsion. It was so because I did it for the need to be with my kid. It really was very. What should I say? I mean, I get goosebumps even when I talk about it. It was very happy. I mean, it gave me the utmost happiness because every day, the happiness of being with her and doing something which I like, put together, you can't even imagine what kind of an adrenaline rush that gives you. So I would say it was and all the challenges that I faced were actually nothing in front of this, because it was just very, very, so to say, fun and a lot of happiness. So I cannot really express it in words. But if you, so I personally would urge everybody to, I mean, think through your decisions. I mean, I'm not saying be an entrepreneur. Not everybody, it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not everybody's cup of tea because it's not something very difficult or crazy to do, but it is, but there is a certain path that you choose for yourself. And if you end up choosing this, then be rest assured that what you are doing is something that you should be happy with at the end of the day. It should not be a decision that's made out of a compromise, in the sense that, okay, this is not working out for me in terms of the corporate culture. I don't like the culture, or I'm not happy with my salary. That can be one reason, but that cannot motivate you forever. So, and once you are, once you are happy with what you're doing in terms of the concept that you've picked up, and it is relatable to you in your personal life, then you will go all for it. I mean, I don't think any challenge will be big enough to really stop you from thinking in that direction. And then, things start falling in line. I mean, that happened with me. And I think Meenu will agree to that. I mean, our association is one of such coincidences. And things happen. If you, like I said, I believe intrinsically every human being has immense amount of goodness in them. If you go with that intention, it really works out. So challenge or no challenge, if you love it, you'll go for it. So don't worry about those things.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Well said.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions? We would love to hear your thoughts. Any questions that you have for Pallavi around entrepreneurship, around being a woman entrepreneur, or around her venture and the cause that she is actually championing right now? Or if there are any thoughts coming up for you, feel free to share with us. Okay, so looks like there are no thoughts.
It's a heavy concept, yeah. Sustainability, for most people, they think it's really okay, we'll deal with it later when we get there, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But the funny part is, or the interesting part is that it impacts us every day.
Yeah,
So
that's
even if we think we can, postpone it for later, but it's still, it still impacts. It's like, exercising. Sometimes we think, okay, I'll do it later.
yeah.
But the lack of it actually impacts us today. It doesn't wait for that later, time frame to come in. So
Yeah, and that's why I mean, we have spoken about it before also. We think that these kind of courses are very important for B schools to have, because, B schools are a place where you really start opening up and you start figuring out for yourself that, okay, this is the path that I'm going to take, or at least get some understanding, because graduation courses, they really, they box you up, you are doing something which is very in one particular direction. But when you go to a B school, then your entire demeanor changes. So this exposure towards awareness, towards sustainability. I mean, I don't know how, but if there are, I'm sure there are colleges which have these kind of courses, and uh, they have personality development and stuff. I don't know how that can be related to this, but I think this is very important to have as a proper course. If we can instigate this at that particular level, then that awareness stays. I mean, it's not going to go away once you have started looking at life from that angle, that you have to make sure that every moment you live is made enjoyable. Then you cannot really go back and live in the same way that you have been before. So I think that's an important thing to for colleges to maybe pick up. And I think a lot of them are. You might know better, yeah, but
yeah,
they are.
yeah, a lot of colleges, yes, are talking about sustainability as a way of life, and
Right.
how do we build practices that will enhance or impact positively in the way we show up on this planet.
Correct, correct. I know of IIM Lucknow, they have a
Yes,
sustainability management course. Yeah, I don't know about
absolutely.
others.
Yes. So, a lot of times when people talk sustainability, one of the things, and I'm talking more from everyday perspective, things which we consume every day or things which we utilize every day. a lot of times we equate sustainability into something organic. Like we
Mm.
talk about organic products, organic soaps, and so
Yeah.
many organic things which are available. And when organic comes in, the natural belief is that anything organic has to be expensive,
Mm.
or sustainability therefore is expensive. So what's your take on that?
So it might be true that these products might be slightly more expensive than their usual counterparts, but there's a reason behind that also, and that's where you need to really figure out what's going into. I mean, I'm not saying that you spend half your day going through these labels, but of course, once you start on that journey, you there are not thankfully there are not too many options available. So what happens is, and how it should ideally be done, is that you keep going back to the same thing over and over again. That's the idea. I mean, that is what I mean when I say consistent. So I'm not saying don't try other products, but when something works for you and you know it works for you, your family, or the environment, it's something that is worthy of your consumption, then I would suggest keep going back to it. And in the long run, if you see and if you compare in terms of pricing, the kind of benefit that these products will have, or the kind of impact that they'll create on you, will be, of course, everything is not measurable. So I'm not saying that, if I'm start eating maybe a organic protein bar as compared to a regular protein bar, it's going to really uplift my energy levels or whatever. I'm saying that over a period of time, you are consuming more natural stuff. You are consuming something about which you are very clear that it is made like this. It's not process heavy. So those kind of things, if they're important for you, then you will gravitate towards it more. And then the pricing, if you compare it in the long run with the kind of benefits that they generate, then I think it's all nullified. So yeah, of course, the change always seems to be a little difficult because for our entire lives we are used to buying Surf Excel. But then tomorrow, if I'm told that you go and look at an organic option for washing your clothes, then I also start thinking about it, right? So uh, to start with, people used to use Rita and these kind of things to wash as shampoo.
Hmm.
Now most of these organic companies are going back to the same ingredients. So the authenticity is there. I'm not asking you to read about just about everything and go crazy, but we have to, some amount of trust and some amount of consistency can really bring a change. Especially with these kind of products, which are more of personal care, more of clothing, more of cosmetics. So these are more that you have to try. I mean, there is a lot of greenwashing, I agree, but then very soon an individual is able to really figure out for themselves, that okay, this is the way this. So when we started Our Better Planet, this was one very important aspect of really figuring. When we started talking to the vendors, due to COVID, we could not really travel to look at their facilities, their production houses, or how were they really doing things. So it was only conversational, right? The entire process of selecting, or whatever you call it. I mean, I can't call it selecting, but the entire collaboration was only based on a phone call, and it was not very peaceful to start with. I would, for my mind, because I always felt that when I am putting something up with a certain voice saying that this is sustainable, then I should make sure that it is. But another very important facet of sustainability is transparency. So as long as the business is coming out in a way that there is no information which is being kept from you, and they are happy to share more, they are happy to share samples, they are happy to assist you with details, as in what went into why did they do it, what went into doing it. I think that is something that on a humanitarian level you can work with, right? I mean, given this environment, and that's how we started. I mean, we could not really go and check with every vendor and touch and feel and see their production. But you can instantly you connect with people that ways, and you know that you know what he's talking about. He's certain of what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. This is the data that he can provide us with, and these are the customer reviews, and this is the kind of info. So transparency, I think, is really big when you're talking about sustainability. And I think a lot of these companies, because of their greenwashing tactics, have created a little bit of a mental block with consumers. Uh, but you know, there is a lot of genuinity in the market, and it'll all work out, I think, in the end.
So true. So in fact, you actually made a statement a while ago, which was about knowing the story behind what you are consuming. Can you give us an example of that story, and how can somebody like us who so far have been not so mindful, but how can we actually shift to that perspective and actually where do we find such stories?
So, I mean, it's not going to be very easy, or I mean, again, if you have the time and if you want to make yourself aware of those stories, you will really get into that. I would, I mean, if you go to an organic store, I mean, not even an organic store, if you deal with a farmer, like just for an example, our community for now, during COVID, they started working with a lot of farmers who come from the close by regions, and they bring their produce. And the produce is here in the clubhouse for a day. And you can go choose, buy, talk to them, figure out what went inside and what was what was it organically made. The entire you can actually talk to them, and they are like they will give you the true story, because you know there's no middleman story happening here, right? So there's no filter. And sometimes these stories are very inspiring, because you really figure out that they had so much produce and they could not sell it, and then they are now the way they are working, their kids have started these kind of associations with bigger communities where they come and sell it, and it's such a noble, great way to sell your products, because otherwise uh, what option do they have? Not every retail store will directly deal with farmers. So that those kind of stories is what I'm talking about, and also about the ingredients that go into your food, your clothing, your cosmetics or your footwear, just about everything. I mean, what is wrong in trying to know that what you're wearing, is it made by an individual or is it mass produced? But again, it is your own personal choice, and it is very like I said, sustainability is has different meanings for different people. But some people would come and tell me that, are you going crazy? I mean, is this what we are going to be doing the entire day? That figuring out stories and talking about pricing and figuring out who's selling it, that's not possible. But at least one piece at a time, that can happen, right? I'm not saying you do it for everything, and that's why I'm saying start small. We cannot really do it for, if we have not been doing it, if we have not been there, then it has to be one step at a time. Yeah.
So true. And it all starts with that first step.
Yeah. Because you'll make one change and then it will lead to multiple, because you can't really live with just one change. It will lead to other changes also.
Yeah.
Just exactly like how I spoke about running. You take up an activity, even for that matter, you go start working out, and then you start looking at what you're eating, right? Because that has a bigger effect on whether that exercise will work for you or no.
True.
So it's all a vicious cycle, and once you start from one small place, I think it's good enough.
And I think the first, in my mind, after I heard you, and listening to these stories, I think the first step really is to be mindful, to be
Yes.
aware. And I
Yes,
think from
yes.
there, actually, everything else will stem out and everything else will actually just show up. Those
Yeah, because if
choices
you
will
start
show.
observing, you'll feel that, this is right, this is wrong, maybe I can do this. So that awareness, even mindfulness might be a little bit more heavy for the younger generation to take, because it might be like, okay, it's for the more mature to be more mindful. But even if we talk simply about awareness, I think that's what we need.
In fact, we do have a session on mindfulness coming up day after tomorrow.
Oh,
So
lovely.
we'll
Yeah.
hope to start from there. Interesting. So, Pallavi, let's talk about our better planet. What's the vision behind it, and how is it going to help us make better choices in our lives?
Okay, so the idea behind Our Better Planet was to create a one-stop shop for everything which was sustainable. So again, through my experiences and through the experiences of people that I know who are associated with me, and also through a lot of research that we did initially before start of this project, we figured that there is a willingness amongst people to really go for the better option. But what deters them also is the lack of availability of all these good options easily in one place. So we spoke to a lot of young mothers. We spoke to some really extremely sustainable people who are like the sustainability gurus who will not even. I mean, they are extremely sustainable. So you cannot really talk to them to about certain things in a certain way also. So when we spoke to them, we figured that it's not just the issue of whether we can make this change or cannot. It's more about availability of these products. And then I mean, I always wanted to have a platform where these products are made available. But then we started looking at a bigger range of products, as to because we through our research we figured that people are looking for everything in one place. So, for example, like an Amazon, wherein it's so easy, you can go there and you can shop for your homeware and your clothing if you want to, and your footwear and whatever. So something like that, but of course, we cannot even come close to what they have built and what they are trying to build. Because if we are sustainable, we cannot take even 25% of their current policy. But yeah, the aim is to make it easily available for people. So that is the concept behind Our Better Planet. And again, the products have to be something which are totally sustainable. When I say totally sustainable, the idea is to work with natural materials, with artisans, with more of handmade stuff, work with businesses that have fair trade policies, uh, probably that support some social causes, work with some differently abled people, or work with women causes. So those are the in the bigger picture, those are the things that we are working with. But the idea is to create a one-stop shop.
Wow. Wow. And, it'd be interesting to know about, um, the causes that our better planet is actually supporting. So, one is, of course, the larger cause of ensuring that the choices are sustainable, the choices are easily available. But, like you said, there are different smaller causes that you are contributing to, which is ultimately leading up to the bigger cause. So, can you spend a few minutes talking to us about the smaller causes as well?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, these smaller causes are being supported by our partners, who are our vendors. So we cannot take credit for it. Uh, at the end of the day, it's totally their product that we are presenting to the world under the umbrella of Our Better Planet. Uh, and these vendors that we so painstakingly choose are actually working with a lot of I mean, they're working towards upskilling women. They are working towards supporting women with probably, I mean, a lot of diseases, a lot of social causes, women from domestic abuse. Then there are these vendors. There are some vendors who are supporting artisans who are with who are working on these arts or skills which are almost gone. I mean, their kids haven't taken it up, so the practice is almost gone. So there are people who are working on reviving those, and our effort is to just support them. So basically, Our Better Planet differentiates itself from any other marketplace by being a uh, by being a facilitator for these vendors. So we want to really give the artisans that these vendors are working with a voice. We don't want it to be, and neither do our vendors. I mean, our vendors are very clear that they want these artisanal stories to come forward, and that is our intention also. So we want to talk about these causes which have actually led to the development of these businesses. It's not only about who the face of that business is, exactly how it's not about me being the face of Our Better Planet. It's all these vendors who we are working with, because without them we very humbly realize that we are nothing, and they are working for these causes. And then these artisans who are actually people who have gone through this entire experience and then still creating so much of goodness in the world. So we really want to work with those stories, because these are the same guys who are working with a lot of bigger brands in the country, but then of course there's no recognition. So they never get any recognition for what they do. It's mostly the face of the brand, or the brand, that really gets that kind of an applause. So that's one very big aim that we have, to really bring these guys to the forefront.
Wow. Beautiful. Okay, so let's take a pause again and actually invite our audience to ask us any questions. Ask Pallavi questions that you may have about whatever you've heard so far, or what thoughts have come up for you so far.
Good evening, Pallavi ma'am. It was really
Hi, this is
insightful
who?
listening to you. This is Sneha Chaila, and I have a question. Maybe it is not related to the session, but looking at you, the powerful personality that you hold, I got this question which comes in related to the financial independence of a woman. And like recently, there was a commercial which came in from Paytm, and it was an eye opener for many of the women. It is flooding on social media platforms, and it made realize that even women is taking that step ahead in workplace. They are becoming independent at the business arena, but still there is like statistical difference between taking that financial independence. So what would you suggest to all the like women and girls out there to take that small initial stage, or maybe the day-to-day practice which will help them to become financially independent? Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for your question, Seha. I'm sorry, but I can't recollect the Paytm commercial. I might have seen it, but I cannot recollect it. If your question is about how important is it to be financially independent,
Ma'am, what you would suggest women to take that small initial steps which will lead them to become financially independent, or in that sense, like not dependent on others to make every small payment or take her investment decisions. So what you
Okay.
would suggest from your time?
Okay. So, I mean, I would say, and I totally believe that financial independence is rightfully something that we should not ever let go off. I mean, we should always strive towards being financially independent, because not for anything else. I'm not saying it's something to do with an individual's ego, or about being able to handle your family. It's more about your confidence. I mean, the kind of confidence that you get from really being able to support your family, take care of anything that comes up in the near future. That is a very big assurance that you can peacefully sleep with at the end of the day. I mean, I'm a strong believer of that. So, and hence probably I have never been able to sit back and not do anything. I'm not saying that people who our homemakers are, or they're not earning a certain amount of money, are not really contributing in a certain way. They are the biggest contributors. They are really, because of them, probably we have this voice nowadays. But financial independence, if you are, if that is something that you have been educated for, if you've been trained for, then that is something that you should definitely keep as one of your topmost priorities. As long as it comes to your own financial investments, then as long as you are mindful of where your money is coming from and where is it going, either you do it or your partner does it or your parents do it for you, that is fine, but you should be aware. You should know what use is it being put to. So that is something that you should control. And when I say control, I don't mean to take away from your partner's role or your parents' role. I'm just trying to say that be mindful of where it's going and be aware. Apart from that, it's your hard-earned money. So whoever manages it for you, that's totally your call. But it should be your call. It's not something that somebody comes and tells you that, I'm going to be taking care of this for you, whether you like it or not. So
Thank
that's
you
my
for
take
sharing
on
your
it.
inputs, ma'am.
So I just want to add something out there, and Sneha, thank you for asking that question. So I think one of, and this is again, my experience with being financially independent. I think it's also about the goals that you set for yourself in your life. I know somebody who actually knew that she doesn't want to work once she's 40, and she planned for it when she was 22. So she started saving things. She started figuring out her milestones, that till the age of 40, these are the milestones that I would love to achieve. And therefore, this is the kind of money that I would need till the age of 40, and this is the kind of money that I'll need, after the age of 40. And assuming that, you live till about 70, 75, what kind of money would you need? And she was sure that she wants to retire at the age of 40. um, Having said that, it's not about saying that, okay, I won't do anything after the age of 40. It's just the fact that I will choose what I want to do after the age of 40, and money shouldn't be the roadblock in that whole process. So that's how the planning was done. And similarly, when I look at, my journey, of course, I didn't have that wisdom at the age of 22 to be able to plan my life ahead as far as the finances were concerned. But I think at some point of time, I knew that I am going to start an organization of my own, and therefore, assuming that, I would need a certain amount of money, and I also had certain personal milestones, I started planning. So I think 4 years, I just kind of put everything together, and I gave it a very hard look to say that, okay, I need this much of money to have a decent lifestyle. And at the same time, I had a few loans. So how do I save? How do I actually, let go of those loans from my head and actually live a life where I'm able to pursue my passions and, uh, pursue things that, give me joy. I think that kind of, sitting back, reflecting, taking a hard look at your finances, and actually not be scared of it, because a lot of times we're scared of, looking at our bank balance, or scared of looking at our expenses. It's okay to put it all down and say, okay, here is what I'm spending, here is what I'm earning, how can I actually balance this out so that I'm able to save money for my dreams and my goals.
Yeah.
Thank you, Minu, ma'am.
Pleasure. And I think it doesn't just apply to women, it applies to men and women.
Yeah.
Every individual.
Yeah.
Any more questions? We would love to, hear from you. Such lovely questions you've asked, Alka and Sneha. Guys on the group, I hope everybody's awake.
In my mind, I'm envying that person that you just mentioned who's decided to retire at 40 and has it all planned for her. I can't keep stop thinking about it's such a perfect way to do it, right? I mean, I don't know if it really all work. I hope it all works out for her.
Working out well for her.
Yeah. But that's such an, I mean, you have so much time for yourself to really do what you have been meaning to do. And yeah, it's amazing. I think I've come to know so many people who have started looking at life from that perspective, that I don't know if it's the right way to go for it. You work for a certain period of time, and then you take the time off, and then that's your so there are all kinds of opinions.
Yeah, ma'am. There is a concept called FIRE. FIRE.
Financially
Like financially independent, then retire early.
Oh yeah.
Ma'am, and the people in this community try to save up like in their 30s and
Right.
get retired by 40, like before 40.
Right. But to save that kind of money, you have to work crazy hard, right? In your 30s.
Yeah. They sacrifice their like some part of their youth to earn their money. They invest those money in like share market, like they build a
Correct.
portfolio so that they can earn interest on that after they like stop working.
Correct.
Yeah, there is a community in it's popular in USA and like
Yeah.
not that popular in India, but it will set a trend in few years, man. I guess.
Yeah. Now, in the US, you have your social security also to take care of a lot of your expenses later on, right? You have your funds
Yeah.
that you have to compulsorily invest into. So, I mean, growing up in the US, growing older in the US and growing older in India, too. Just today we were talking about what some of these, most of these older people in my community. I mean, I was just wondering when I looked at them in the park, are they just waiting for life to stop, or are they really are they really
Living their
enjoying
life.
these years? Yeah, it doesn't look like that. It just seems like, they are waiting for it to, that their conversations are also such, their entire demeanor is such that, okay, bas, this is it. We have had whatever was life had to show us. We've all been there, done that. Now we're just waiting. How long can you wait for it to come? I mean, is that approach correct? I mean, you're not even living your life. But I think that's how old age in India is a little bit. Maybe it changes with us, but hopefully.
Yeah, it will change, man. It will
Definitely with you guys, with the FIRE concept, but yeah, us, maybe a little bit with us also. I didn't get your name.
Samar.
Yeah, ma'am. It's Samar. SAMARTH. Samar.
Hi, Samaj.
Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know about that concept. I'll read it up. Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, ma'am. It's very interesting, and I'm just researched in this lockdown. I found that. So
Okay.
like I'm looking forward to it. Like, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions? Okay, so if there are no other questions, and later once you reflect on this, so when we started this session, Pallavi did mention that this topic is actually quite deep, and many a times we may not find its applicability easily. Like the more you think about it, the more you would start realizing, oh, there are so many things where we could be conscious and we could be mindful of our choices, etc. So any point of time, if you think there's a question coming up for you, feel free to write to us. yugma@vanskilling.co.in is our email ID. It's there on our page as well, LinkedIn page as well. So feel free to write to us, and we'll share those questions with Pallavi, and we'll try and see how best we could answer those questions for you. But keep the thought process going. Like we said, the first step is to be mindful. First step is to be conscious and aware. Start from there. Think about what we discussed today, and all the best to all of you in this journey. Thank you so much, Pallavi, for your time. It was such a lovely conversation and so
Thank you
inspired
for
by your
having me.
vision.
Thank you for having me, and thanks everybody